name's Dash. Let me start by explaining what the point of the soon-to-be-filled notebook of entries is. I found this notebook in the terminal while waiting aboard a flight to Rottenland. I had to rip out a couple of the early pages of poorly written words followed by a shitty written alphabet. I'm sure this notebook belonged to a toddler a few minutes ago, but fuck it, finders keepers. I figure since I'm going to be new to town, I'll use this notebook to journal my time out there. Nothing crazy, just my day and what I observe. You might ask, why am I moving to Rottenland? Like most, the pandemic fucked me with no consent. Had to downsize and rearrange my finances. And Rottenland is probably one of the last decent and affordable cities in California. Just 6 hours from Los Angeles. Alright, let's get into these entries. I'll title this one, Red Eye. "11:10 p.m. I couldn't have picked a shittier seat. On my right, an old man's drool raced down my right shoulder as he rested on top. I wanted to nudge him awake, but I didn't want to scare him. You know, trigger a heart attack or something. Then there was the suit and tie on my left. He talked my ear off from takeoff till we reached altitude. Talked to me about his job, his benefits, and his 401k. Anyways, he passed out mid-sentence talking about his wife's colonoscopy. I killed off my vodka cranberry and had trouble sitting in the cup holder on the layout tray. I can't even lie, I was drunk. Very drunk. I had to piss too, but I didn't want to embarrass myself by stumbling to the bathroom. I looked around the cabin. Everyone was fast asleep. I realized that guy's sentence was the last dialogue of anyone on that flight. Since no one was awake to see me stumble, I took my chance and went to the bathroom. We finally landed. I'm just going to skip to when I got to the motel. I don't want to discuss the baby that threw up on me while I was walking off the plane. I checked into my motel room. I'm supposed to be getting my apartment keys from the leasing office in the morning. The motel wasn't much to look at, but it kept a roof over my head for the next few hours. I flipped on the TV and watched some classic cartoons till I fell asleep. I haven't even changed my baby puke shirt yet. I guess I was that tired from the flight. And it was around 2 in the morning at this point. When I got to my apartment was when everything finally sank in. This is my new home. When you first move into a place, you never know what to do at first. You kind of stand there observing every corner. What can be placed here? What can be placed there? What the hell am I going to eat tonight with hardly anything in my kitchen? All these questions. Moving's nice, but it can be pretty empty. The only time I've ever seen my apartment was through the virtual tour. I know it's not smart to rent out a place without seeing it in person, but I had no choice. What was I supposed to do? Fly from LA to Rottenland back to LA just for a viewing? I had to take the risk. And honestly, the apartment matched what I saw online. No gimmicks or scams. I unpacked what I had, which was basically nothing. Some clothes and hygiene products. I didn't have furniture or appliances. I sold it all before I left. I never envy a person that just moves into their place. It sucks. I've got nothing but the paint on the walls to keep me company. And even that's going away as it gets darker. I got a pizza delivered for dinner. I figured it should hold me over for tonight and for lunch tomorrow. I ate on a little pallet I made in the living room. 6 slices until the itis took me over and I went to sleep. The next day I went shopping for an entertainment system. TV, soundbar, floor stand speakers. I couldn't take another night in silence, but it seemed like everything in stores was out of my budget range. On my way home, I came across a garage sale near my apartment. I mean, this whole man's lawn was covered with stuff. Some of it looked brand new, like he just bought it to buy it. I knew people like that back in LA. Cyrus was his name. He was your typical balding 60-year-old draped in his best Tommy Bahama. Nice guy. To my surprise, he had an entertainment set that was actually generous on the cost. It came with a soundbar and more speakers than I intended to purchase. Cyrus even threw in a 55-inch TV, all for $600. Not bad. Since I didn't have a car, Cyrus was even nice enough to deliver it for me. Either he was eager to get rid of this entertainment system, or he was genuinely a nice guy. I went home and assembled everything. Mounted the TV, put a speaker here, put a speaker there, practically turned my living room into a Cineplex. Finally, I finished. I stood in front of the TV like a kid on Saturday morning, ready to hit that power button and see what lies before me. So I did. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was perfect. To really understand what I'm talking about, let me break it down. Imagine sinking into the plush embrace of your couch. Lights dim to the perfect glow, as your home transforms into an audiovisual wonderland. Before you, a massive ultra-high-definition screen stretches to the corners of the wall, each pixel a tiny doorway into other worlds, rendering breathtakingly vivid landscapes in the sharpest details you've ever seen. Surrounding you, a symphony of perfectly balanced sounds emanates from a state-of-the-art surround system, its crystal-clear bass reverberating through the room, making you feel the pulse of every beat and the rumble of every explosion, as if you're part of the action. This is not just watching or listening. This is sensory euphoria, an all-encompassing escape where technology meets pure entertainment bliss. Dope, right? I wish I could come up with some complex shit like that. I just read it from the box. But every line was true. I spent the rest of that day flipping through channels and watching every loud and explosive movie I could think of. I did eventually get a noise complaint from my neighbor, but the complaint was that I didn't invite him over to experience the entertainment too. After a couple of months, I was beginning to see that this entertainment system was helping me make friends in the city. First it was my neighbor, then a couple of coworkers, and then it snowballed into other people I met on the daily. Before I knew it, my living room was a hangout hub. I would have football parties, host UFC matches, the whole nine. It was fucking awesome. Until it wasn't. Just as I was making friends, I started noticing some weird shit in the city as well. I couldn't put my finger on it. It's like I was becoming more and more familiar, but not in a good way. People weren't just recognizing my face. They were recognizing my habits, allergies, mannerisms, everything. Here's what I mean. I went to a nearby restaurant and ordered some jambalaya. The server told me they made sure not to include shrimp. I found that strange. I never told the server I was allergic to shrimp. I never told the people I met either. To be honest, I think I overlooked that ingredient when I ordered. But how'd they know not to include that? It happened another time when I was shoe shopping. I told the employee I liked a certain shoe. Immediately, he walks off and returns with a shoe in my size along with a few other brands I wear. Now, he ran out before I told him my size, and I didn't tell him I liked these other footwear brands. Then I thought, maybe he's a shoe guru, can just read people and know their preferences. More recently, I've been exercising in private to prepare for my new job. I don't like going to gyms. They're overcrowded and filled with tripod stands. Anyway, the other morning I opened my door and to my surprise, dozens of different gym flyers flooded my doormat. Chuck's Gym, Nitro Gym, Flex Gym. I looked over at the other apartments and they had nothing. Maybe they picked theirs up already. But the list goes on and on with this weird shit. I tried to wave off the coincidences, but it was becoming more of a pattern. It felt like people were watching me behind closed doors. 'Cause how'd they know me so well? The paranoia eventually kicked in. I was keeping all of my blinds closed, checking the house after every party to see if someone left a camera. Even put up a doorbell cam to watch neighbors around my apartment. When I ride the train, I can't help but look at everybody suspiciously, and the ones that looked back at me were guilty for sure. Or so I thought. One night I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up to complete darkness. After a certain time of inactivity, the TV will shut off on its own. I remember looking around and noticing something eerie. All the electronics had a red eye looking at me. You know the one. The red light that indicates your device is off. One from the TV, one from the soundbar, and one from each speaker. I couldn't tell if my lucid mindset was making me think things. But it's one of those things you never think about. The red light, the red eye. They don't blink. They don't turn off. They just stare at you. Why do companies design devices that leave a light on anyway? Doesn't that contradict the purpose of it being off? And they always choose a red light. Why not something more calming? Purple, green, blue. Makes you wonder. The following morning I went for a walk around the city. Windy as shit today. What I do like about Rottenland is that it reminds me of LA. Big city, bad traffic, and lots of people. I've learned to take the train since being here. I had a car back in LA, but I left it for my little bro to have. He's supposed to be visiting me soon. I stopped at a cafe and grabbed a coffee, took a seat at one of the tables, and gave my feet a rest. There was this woman sitting at another table. Cute too. She kept looking my way. I got up and joined her at her table. Christine, she said her name was. She told me I looked familiar. I let her know I'm new to town unless she knew me from LA. She said she's never been to LA, Rottenland, born and raised. She stuck a pin in her wonder of who I am, and we proceeded with a little chit-chat. She told me she's a nurse at the nearby hospital, lives in the flats uptown, and has a dog named Scooter. Midway through her babble about which dog food is best for Scooter, she remembered. She said, "I know where you're from. Candid Candy." I asked her what Candid Candy was. She said it was a website, sort of a live cam website. She was a little embarrassed to admit that she had a fetish for the voyeur, but I didn't care about her fetish. I cared about how she saw footage of me online. She showed me the site. My heart dropped. There I was, watching TV, eating, working out, sleeping. It's so bizarre looking at yourself from an outside perspective, seeing your mannerisms, facial expressions. I saw myself naked too. All these angles were from my living room. Immediately I thought, Cineplex. I grabbed Christine's number, because I would be a fool not to, and then I rushed home to confirm my suspicion. I cracked open all the speakers. Each of them had a tiny camera hidden inside. That son of a bitch Cyrus. I soon realized the sick genius he was. He sold me an entertainment set for $600, just to make more money exploiting voyeur footage of me recorded through it. That's why everybody knows about me. He's been streaming me ever since I moved in. What if this was sold to a mom who bought it for her kid? I doubt Cyrus would have cared. Probably figured a kid would have been a jackpot. I walked down to Cyrus's house, ready to lay hands on that Hawaiian shirt-wearing bastard. When I got to his house, it was empty. I could see through his front window out the back. His neighbor was outside cutting grass. I asked what happened to Cyrus. They told me he moved out. That's why he had the garage sale. I asked his neighbor if they knew the forwarding address. I reassured them it was something Cyrus sold me that I wanted to send back. Seemed sentimental. They pulled out their phone and gave me the address. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. I thanked them and left. I plugged the address into my phone maps. 23 miles away. I figured I could make it before sunset. I took a train down to Cyrus's new house. He was bringing in groceries from his car. Still wearing that Hawaiian shirt. Damn, I hate that Hawaiian shirt. I snuck inside his house while he was grabbing bags out his trunk. His new house is nice, I'll admit. Modern amenities. Probably was able to afford it with all the candy cash he's been getting, son of a bitch. I hid inside a hallway closet. I didn't know what I was going to do to him. Beat him? Kill him? No, probably not kill. I've never done that before. But maybe rough him up enough to make a point. I watched him through the crack of the door, wobbling with his groceries to the kitchen. I eased out of my hiding spot and slowly crept over. When I entered the kitchen, he was putting stuff away in the cupboards. I called his name. He glared at me and said, "Hi, Dash." super nonchalant, like he knew me, like someone didn't just walk into his house unannounced. I confronted him about the website. I told him to take it down or I'm going to the cops. He laughed in my face. He said, "What cops? The cops are watching you too." He continued to tell me how he hosts watch parties as well. People would come over to watch the victims go about their day on his TV. He began inching closer to me, telling me how some of his friends tagged me as a favorite in their browser. One lady watches me like a virtual boyfriend, streaming me 24/7 as if I'm there with her. He got descriptive about the sick fantasy shit they do when they watch the footage. Don't worry, I won't say it to make you gag. But it was bad. Finally, he said something that made me snap. "Most of all, Dash, I love that cute little birthmark on your left cheek. I call it the booty mark." Before he could reference the joke to the facial beauty mark, I tackled him. He tried to scream for help, but I muted that shit real quick. I wrapped my hands around his neck and choked him. I couldn't stop. He was squirming all over the kitchen floor. At one point, the fingertips on both my hands were touching each other. His neck was looking like a fucking hourglass. When I finally did stop, he was dead. I didn't know what to do. Didn't I say I wasn't going to kill him? I had to think fast. I took his belt off and wrapped it around his neck, tied the other end to a drawer handle above his head. Maybe whoever finds him will think he did it to himself. I left the house and headed 23 miles back home. It finally hit the sunset like I predicted. On the train, I was thinking about what happened and how much I regret buying that entertainment system. In a matter of months, I've become a murderer because of it. In a matter of months, I've been exposed all over the city because of it. I just wanted to move to a cheaper town. I also thought about something else Christine told me earlier at the coffee shop. Rottenland, the city of secrets. Everyone's bound to have one. And I think I just made mine.